So what's your name?
My name is Doris Loretta Settle Maxwell.
Which year did you attend Brown Summit Public High School?
I attended Brown Summit from first grade to ninth grade, which was from 1956 until 1965.
Wow. So what was your school day like?
I enjoyed school. I actually enjoyed school, elementary school. I loved it. I loved my teachers. One of the things that happened to me when I was in first grade, I had some hearing problems. And I'm probably the only person that you will know or meet that had diphtheria.
Oh.
I had diphtheria as a child, and when I was in first grade, I again had hearing problems, and I had surgery, had treatments. I'll never forget at the Jefferson Pilot Building in Greensboro, and I couldn't play with the other kids at recess time. So I ended up staying in the classroom, doing colorings and things like that. And that was a year that I actually won an art contest and won a dress from Moskin's clothing store in downtown Greensboro. So for me, as a first grader, having, I had those problems and moving to second grade, third grade, and fourth grade, I loved being in elementary school.
Oh, wow.
We also, during the course of being in elementary school, we went to the symphony. And we always practiced before going to the symphony. Mr. Smith, Melvin Smith, who was a teacher at that time and has since passed, was our music teacher in elementary school and always had us prepared for the symphony. So elementary school was wonderful and I loved it.
Was there a dress code?
There was not a dress code in the way that people talk about dress codes now. We just dressed the way we knew we were supposed to dress. We were children, but you still, wore dresses. And if we wore pants, they typically were under the dress or the skirt. And, everybody dressed the same. There was, we didn't have a smart, standard mode of dress at that time. But again, the families knew in sending their kids to school that they needed to be dressed appropriately and be dressed modestly.
So what memory about the school stands out for you?
For me, oh gosh, I just love Brown Summit, elementary school, high school, the library. I love to read, so I was always in the library. Miss Austin was our librarian. I love May Day when we wrapped the pole. I don't know if you know anything about wrapping the pole for May Day. That was one of the most fun parts of school. I was a majorette for the band. I love school. I love being in school. I love Brown Summit.
Well, that's great.
More Mayday talk, more Mayday talk. I'm interested in that. I would love to sort of bring that back. We were talking about that this morning.
It is an awesome time to come together. It is beautiful. People loved it. We enjoyed it. And it was like the highlight of the year was the wrapping of the maypole.
Yeah.
What differences can you recall about the school versus the all-white schools?
Brown Summit was, how can I put it? Being at Brown Summit was like being with family. Being at Brown Summit is where my cousins were, the people that lived on Jackson School Road, which is where I grew up. So you knew everybody, and you knew everybody's parents. Everybody's parents, knew your parents, and you knew all the kids. When I left here after ninth grade and went to Northeast High School, it was a shock, a culture shock. There were a few teachers there that I knew in my spirit did not want us there as Black students. There were students that were there that did not want us there as Black students. But luckily for me, just in terms of understanding that they didn't know me, and I always say what my mom used to say, they don't know you. And my thing is, if you really knew me, you would love me. They didn't know me. So it was not knowing me, I think, that really kind of helped me to understand that they didn't know me. We had some awesome teachers there, in addition to the ones that we knew that didn't want us there. But my English teacher, and I went to visit her about 2.5 or 3 years ago. She lives in Greensboro. Her name was Cynthia Imogene Hodge Hegner. Absolutely an awesome person. Miss Lita Pillion, Diane Guy, Brenda Lale, Robert Odell Payne, Mr. Patrick. We had some good teachers, and part of knowing that they were good teachers is, again, knowing how they treated us. They did not treat us as black students coming into that school any differently than they treated the white students. But there were teachers that we had that made little side comments if you did well on a test, or if you got a good grade, in terms of, oh, you got that grade? Maybe I need to check that grade again. Maybe I need to check that average again. And then you had teachers that really didn't want to call on you in class when you would raise your hand. So that was a bother. But again, you just have to understand and know. And the one thing that I remember about Ms. Hegner, and I actually told her this.
Take your time.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. We have all afternoon, and there's a lot to looking back. It's okay. Do you need your pocketbook? We have
Yeah,
tissue
some
and
tissue.
yeah.
I'm sorry, and I said I wasn't going to do this. But I told Ms. Hegner that she was one of the ones that truly, truly accepted us. She could hug you, you know, she could talk to you in an even voice. And when you're growing up, you really don't understand, again, how people can be the way they are. But as I got older and I would come back home, I left North Carolina in '68. When I would come back home, I went to visit her a couple of times after that, but just never really shared with her some of the feelings that we had as students. But what I came to understand about her was that she was truly a Christian woman with a Christian spirit in terms of loving and accepting people for who they were. And I told her that the last time that I saw her a few years ago, and she just had no idea. She had no idea that that was in my spirit. And I shared, you know, with her, that's how some of my other friends felt, because she was one of those that even when she walked, she just had this lightness about her. She just had this spirit about her that you knew that she was who she said she was, if that makes sense. She was who she said she was. She was a teacher, and she embraced all of us that came through her class. And again, we had some others, but she is just one that stood out.
So how do you feel about Brown Summit becoming like a historical site?
I am so excited. Brown Summit has just, it's always been a place where things have gone on, where things have happened. And I know when I spoke to the graduating class here last June, I don't know if you all were here, I spoke in June to the class that graduated. And just thinking of, I guess thinking back about some of the things that we experienced and some of the things that we did, you know, the Bugle was our newspaper. We had games. We just had such a camaraderie of the students here, and everybody looked out for everybody. And it was just a good place to be, and just wanting that recognized, and just, you know, knowing that you all are here continuing that excellence. And what Brown Summit Middle School means to us that were here before, because we were in some of these classrooms. Yeah, we were in some of these classrooms, even though the old school is, you know, torn down. We actually were in some of these classrooms. And when I went into an art room week before last with Miss Millicent, and I was just amazed in terms of what she has done with that room, and just thinking about me again being in first grade and winning an art contest, and I'm thinking, wow, if we had had her as an art teacher in elementary school, I may have gone a different path. But you know, she's really got such an awesome setup over there. And just thinking that that setup is there, these buildings are here because of Brown Summit. Yeah, that's what is really motivating us.
After you graduated, where did you go?
Wow, I have a story. We graduated on Thursday night. On Saturday morning, after I graduated, I was on the bus to Washington, D.C. So I left Northeast High School, went to Washington, D.C. for a summer job. And from there, the rest is history. I just made the best of it, and left Northeast prepared, even as a high schooler, and just felt good, even though my experience there, you know, was not the best going in. When I came out, I had friends that I had met there, people that I loved and respected. And when we actually did our 40th class reunion, some of those people that I actually was in class with, we came together to do class reunion, to plan a class reunion. And I will have to admit that they had other class reunions, but I had just had so much that had happened in the past kept me from really wanting to come back and go to a class reunion. But as you grow, you mature, and you know, you have a different sense of who you are and who they were. And just knowing that people change, and that was the catalyst for me actively getting involved and working on another class reunion and being a part of it myself.
I have a question. Do you feel good about how prepared you were to transition from Brown Summit to this different high school right down the way at Northeast?
Personally, I did, and I think a lot of that had to do with just, again, the teachers and taking advantage of everything that they wanted us to know. And because they saw this coming, and they worked even harder to make sure that we understood that we were wonderful, we were smart, we could do whatever it is we wanted to do. And then to, you know, my parents were the same way. It's like, you know, you can go. My cousin Gwendolyn Bell, actually went to Northeast when she was in 9th grade. So I got a sense of what was going on there before I went as a 10th grader. But again, the teachers really tried their best and did their best to make sure we were prepared. Because again, people were not expecting black schools to produce outstanding students. You were just going to school because that's what you had to do. But the teachers that we had were awesome. Miss Booker, Miss Raleigh, Miss Daly, Miss Smith, Miss Phillip, the whole gamut of teachers that we had. They really tried to instill in us who we were, and just to be proud of who you were. And that to me is just what I take with me every day. And I tell people I am proud of who I am. I'm proud of the experiences that I've had. I'm proud of the people that have been in my path and people that have poured into me.
So how would you describe like race relations in Greensboro at that time?
race relations in Greensboro at that time were not the best, and especially when it came to socializing. Going to different events, going to the Carolina Theater, going out to eat. If you're from this area, your grandparents probably will remember Monroe's Drive-In in Greensboro. Monroe's Drive-In was more specifically for whites. You had the College Inn Drive-In, which is the place that blacks often frequent. You had the theater in Mount Zion, where the drive-in theater in Mount Zion, where blacks could go and see outdoor movies. Restaurants, just being comfortable. Even the stores downtown, Tallheimers, Belk, Myers, K Jewelers, the Jewel Box. You, at a certain point in time, could go in, but you knew that people did not want to wait on you. People did not want you buying their products. And again, if you understand that, it's all about economics. And the dollar is green regardless of where it's spent. But at one point in time, if you had money as a black person, you still weren't respected, and people didn't want your money. But again, you dealt with it. And you just kept moving, because again, if you had a strong sense of who you were, it's again who I am, and that's it. I'm just going to keep it moving.
What should today's youth draw from their experiences as a teenager?
For me, and again, because I have dealt with students at so many different levels. When I was with EPA, before I retired, I was the campus liaison to North Carolina A&T, and it's because EPA had a memorandum of understanding with A&T, and it was a way to try to encourage their students to become more involved with the environment. And out of that, being at EPA, there were people that worked at EPA whose kids were at colleges other than A&T, and they wanted to know why EPA was not doing that at other schools. So out of that, we started doing outreach to UNC Wilmington. We did outreach to Mount Olive College at that time. It's now Mount Olive University, which where the Mount Olive Pickle Factory is. We started doing outreach to Western Carolina. I used to go up to Cullowhee. We continued, the outreach to the HBCUs. And I can say that just in my interaction with students, they all come in with certain expectations. And it's not until you really sit down and talk to them that you see that they're all the same. They sometimes aren't sure of what they want to do. Some of them have had some exposure, some haven't. And that was with not only, black students, white students, but that's just the way it is in general. Because with adults, this day and time, you still have people with different experiences. And what I would say to young people is just meet people where they are, understand the experiences that they've had. You may not have had, they may have had experiences that dealt with people, talk to people that you have not talked to, so they're coming at something and looking at something from their perspective. And I used to tell the students that I dealt with when I worked for EPA, be consistent and persistent if you want to find a job. So again, there are just certain things that you do that will help you along the way. And I would just not say that to black students, I would say it to the native students, the Chinese American, just all students, because again, I try to treat those students with the same sense of, you are great and you can do anything you want to, because of what I experienced at Brown Summit and what I experienced at Northeast. And the one interesting thing, and I shared with Principal Robinson when I was here week before last, when I went to DC the night I graduated, and the following week I went for an interview for a job at the Department of Commerce for a summer job. And it was with at that time, it was the Domestic and International Business Administration. It later became the International Trade Administration. But the gentleman that I interviewed with, his name was Saul Barron, and he was Deputy Director of the Office of International Trade Promotion. And we had a conversation. He wanted to know where I went to school, what I did, why I was in DC, what prompted me to come. And when he explained what they did, I was able to say to him, based on what Lita Pillion, who was my geography teacher at Northeast, had said to me, was that world trade is the key to world peace. And when I said that, he said, "You're hired." So he picks up the phone and he calls HR and he tells them, "We have settled on Miss Settle," because Settle was my maiden name. And it was just amazing to me, but again, to be able to draw upon what I had learned in school and to be able to relate that to the person that I'm talking to. And that's why I say it's all in terms of what you've been exposed to, who you know, conversations you've had, and the things that you've learned. And that was the linchpin for him hiring me for the summer, was that I could say that, and they were dealing with trade and promoting trade overseas.
Oh, wow. So if you could choose one thing that the public needs to hear about Brown Summit Colored High School, what do you think it would be?
Brown Summit High School was, again, the center of so much positives. I mean, it was just a positive place to be. And it was just hard to leave here and not have a positive sense of who you were and that you had, been exposed to good people, and, you had friends and the teachers. I cannot say enough about the teachers and just how they just poured into us and just supported us and encouraged us. And that more than anything else just, to me, speaks volumes. And Mr. Jones, who was the principal when I was here, was one that he knew us and he knew our parents. And I'll share one thing with you. When I went to work for the government, I had to have what is called a full field investigation. And you hear that now when they talk about all the people in the White House that are not able to pass their background investigations and their background checks. And when they came here to talk to Mr. Jones about me, because again, that's what they did even back in the day, he was reluctant to talk to them because he didn't know if they were here trying to get information about me because of something that had happened or something I had done. So he wanted to talk to my parents to make sure that it was okay for him to talk to them about me. So again, it's looking out and making sure that, whatever went on with students, even after you graduated, the teachers and, the principal and the people that were in this community kept up with you, because again, this was just a community. But for my full field investigation, even though they came back, they had their little credentials, they had their badges, he just would not, didn't want to talk to them until he really had a good sense of why they were here.
How can we continue to preserve the legacy of the school?
I would say just to have the students here to understand that this place, this building, is just more than a place that you come as part of the middle school for advanced academics. There were so many good things that happened here years ago, and we are just, I, for one, and I know other folks on the alumni group, are just so excited that without Brown Summit having been here, you all would not be here in this building at this time, at this place. And that means so much to us that we're just excited. We're just so excited that the school still has relevance in its venue, in its mere existence. And I think that is the important thing. So when you all are maneuvering around the campus and, moving from classroom to classroom, just, there were some people that came through here, and, this is why we're here. But I'm excited. I'm really excited. And when I came here for the Out of the Garden project, and when I came to help judge the doors for Black History Month, it was just like, wow, I'm back in my element. I'm back here, and I'm just remembering all of the good things and just hoping and praying that you all now in whatever you're doing at this point in time in your life, the season of your life, are enjoying and having a good time here at Brown Summit Middle School.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
So,
Wow. Wow.
are you all okay? Was that okay for you?
That was
That was great.
wonderful. That was incredible. I just don't want to let you go. Just don't go anywhere. Because I feel like there's a connection to the support you got as a Brown Summit student to being able to make that adjustment at a new school. I just feel somehow, and we don't know each other from anything, but I just feel like this was such a special place to be that it kind of equipped you to handle what you were going to have to face in your next adventure over to a new campus, which is never easy to switch schools, but
But did anyone also discuss with you, even being here, the books that we got and how the names of the students were names that we saw when we went to Northeast? Because we used to get the hand-me-down books from the white schools. So when we went to Northeast, we saw some of the names of students that we got, and even in the lower grades, the books were shifted over to the white schools, so to the black schools and the white schools, because the white schools typically have the newest books. So again, and that's something my husband and I had talked about, some time back. You go to Northeast and you hear names and you see names, like I know that person's name was in a book, even in elementary school, because that's what happened during that day. But we were really prepared when we left here. And I give all due respect to Northeast. I was prepared when I left Northeast as well.
yeah.
But we, like I said, being here at Brown Summit was just such an awesome experience. And there's no shame, even because it was a black school, for having been here and having been a student here, because we got the best of what they had to offer us, and it was their best. And I was laughing and telling Ms. Robinson that I had a cousin who was something else. He's deceased, but Miss Velma Neal Moorhead, Miss Moorhead Neal, she got married. She was just waiting for him to come to her class, because he was one of those that was known as a little rascal. He was always into something. And she was, I can't wait for Thomasello to come to my class. And we were like, oh, Buck's gonna get it when he gets to her class. But again, it was about, how you acted, taking school seriously. And she straightened him out. She just did not take any guff from him, and he would try stuff. But
Expectations were up here.
Oh yeah. And again, you knew that if your brother, sister's cousin, or whatever had come through, and you eventually had to go through this teacher, so you were either going to get with the program, or the program was going to get done. And I just remember her wanting him to come to her class so bad. And
Well, can you talk about how fitting it is that in 2018, Brown Summit is a campus for advanced academics, academic excellence? Isn't that just...
And that's what I'm saying, within these walls, and when I went to that art class, when I walked down and I looked at the doors, and I was just thinking back, without the school having been here in its past life, it would not be a place for students of all cultures, race, section, just the whole gamut to be here. And that's why I am encouraging our people to do the box tops. I'm encouraging people, we donated for the Hearts for the Arts, because again, this is a place that I love it. I just love, and I love that you all are here, and that you are the next generation, and having worked with college students, and knowing that, again, so many of them come into college not prepared to deal with the real world. because they have not had people that have exposed them to the real world and how things work. I'm just so excited that you all are here. I really am.
Because you know this will spread. I mean, you have a panel of students who are interviewing, but it spreads. And what this school was and all that has happened, and yes, there were high expectations and you were expected to behave, and you know the bar was set here, and that kind of a thing is something that the students feel now, but they know it's just not a now thing.
It's not.
This is just par for the course for the school.
For the school and what it meant to this community. So for you all leaving here, people will say Brown Summit Middle School. And I will tell you one of the things that happened, my two of my nieces, I say nieces, but I work with their mother at A&T as part of my campus liaison work at A&T on behalf of EPA. And Cara went to Gramsley, and Kendall went to Brooks Global. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Kendall went to Brooks Global, but they moved to Flint, Michigan. So they both ended up students at Central Michigan University. Cara graduated in December. Kendall is a freshman. So Kendall went back to Michigan after Christmas, and Cara stayed because she now is at the Disney College in Florida.
Wow.
You need to check out the Disney
I didn't know
College.
that was a thing.
Check out the Disney College. Okay? Check out Disney College. Definitely to check, because I didn't know. And she explained to me what it was, but at any rate, she stayed back because her dad lives in Greensboro, so I picked her up. And we came in the back way going to my daughter's house, and when we came by the school, she said, "Oh, Aunt Doris, I've heard of that school. I heard of that school. That's supposed to be a good school." I said, "It is, and that's the school that Uncle Dewey and I used to go to when we were in high school." She's like, "Really? And now it's the advanced act?" I said, "Yes, Cara, it is. Thanks to Uncle Dewey and Aunt Loretta." But again, this school has a reputation for being just an outstanding school and just doing great things. And again, because Brown Summit was here, and that's what we get out of it. And we are officially going to organize. We have our nonprofit status at the state level, but we had to do it at the national level with Internal Revenue. We're going to be working on our bylaws. We're going to be setting up a scholarship program, and just, you know, wanting to do some things to kind of keep this going and keep Brown Summit in front of everybody. But that was what was expected of us. It really was.
Wow.
And Brown Summit was one of the county schools, and Dudley was one of the city schools. So
I see. That's how it worked. I was trying to figure out how you knew, how a family would know. So where do I go?
right. And then you had Laughlin, and then in Reedsville it was Booker T. And my husband and I actually went to a fundraiser for scholarships for another Rosenwald school on Saturday in Garner. And again, it is now a middle school. So the Alumni Association, you know, supports the middle school. They do things, and people that went to that school, they work to give scholarships to, you know, folks that come to that school and go on to other things. But we're excited, and like I said, I put on our Facebook, these are the box tops you all need to be collecting.
That's right.
This is what we're going to do for the middle school. So, yeah, and you know, we want to support you all. We really do, because we just felt good about our experience here. We really did. And just the old Industrial Arts building was a white building off to the side, and the high school was directly out of this building. And it was interesting. It was an interesting time. But like I said, we had a good time. We loved one another and had some awesome teachers.
Wow.
So I hope this has been helpful to you all.